First of all, congratulations to you.
Second of all, thanks.
Thank you. I know some movies that are secretive, they're shot under different names sometimes.
Yeah.
So, for example, when this one had like The Cellar, it had Valencia, and I'm wondering, and then now...
The Cellar, that was it. I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
When I first read it, that's what it was called.
What I want to ask you is, throughout your career, other films that you've made, do you remember any other fun names that were different to the actual release name?
I know ones that should have never been released, but no. Yeah, I didn't know it was a big secret, but 10 Cloverfield Lane sounds great.
I guess it's a little known fact that when I signed on to do the Newsroom, Aaron Sorkin's HBO show, it was originally called More as This Story Develops.
Really?
Yeah. So that was what was printed on the script for the pilot when I went and auditioned for that show. So that's the only other thing that I've done that went through title changes.
This script, though, when you got it, was The Cellar or Valencia?
I think it was called Valencia when I first read it. Yeah.
Valencia came from a speech that was in the movie. It was at the top of the dinner table scene when they all sit down. John Goodman gave this 3-minute long, all in one take, camera slowly pushing in, intense speech. And we needed to cut, the movie for time and keep up the pace. And we found in that scene, he also gave this really crazy, menacing look that said more than any of those words needed to say. So it was almost like, for me, that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indy's facing off against the swordsman and just pulls out his gun. That was originally a whole choreographed fight scene, and then Harrison Ford just did that.
Which was improv,
John Goodman just did this look that was like, oh my God, we're doing the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing. But the speech was about the siege of Valencia, and so that's where we pulled that.
Are there other projects you ever worked on that have had different titles prior to the actual released title?
I have. I've had a couple of films that just don't have a title. Like I did this this indie movie called Alex of Venice, and the whole time we were shooting it, it was just called Untitled. So, and we were actually taking requests out of a hat of titles and things, because it was just we just don't know what to call this movie. So that does happen sometimes.
I don't know if you can tell me this. I'm actually curious. Who voices Ben on the phone?
Oh, you don't know?
Is it Bradley Cooper? Someone told me it was Bradley
Cooper.
Is it really him?
Yes, he's in the credits. If you wait for the credits.
I was wondering about that because someone told me they saw it. I didn't see the end of the credits at the end. So I've left after.
It's kind of great. I wish that they could put him above the title or something. like Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. Were you actually conversing with him? Or was that done post?
No, that was done post. I didn't actually know it was happening until just a couple weeks ago.
So who were you talking to? Or who were you listening to?
Originally, it was a friend of mine, Matt Viro, who's a great actor who was originally playing my boyfriend on the other line, and I haven't told him yet that it's not him.
It's not. Well, now he knows.
Now he knows. I'm sorry, Matt.
Yes.
Can I bring that up?
Sure.
So he voices the boyfriend Ben, who we hear in the beginning. How did that come about?
He honestly was just really obsessed with the role and kept on auditioning, and he even
Cooper?
showed up as a phone for one audition. And, no, I'm just kidding. JJ and him have a history. He was an alias.
Alias, yeah.
And we needed that voice, and JJ was like, oh, I wonder if Bradley would do it. And we were like, sure, ask him. And he was stoked to help out. It was really cool.
You were responsible for a lot of my childhood fears. Arachnophobia ridiculously almost ruined my life.
I forgot, yeah. That was fun. I forgot about that. Was a horror movie, yeah.
I want to ask you about that film because that film left such a mark on me. And I'm wondering, out of all the films you've done, have any of the films left marks on you? Like have you ever, has a film character ever changed the way you felt about something in your life?
Boy, they made me think about. I can't think of a specific answer, but I know that I've come away from it looking at things from a different point of view. Like when I did the Monuments Men with George Clooney, that it really got me fascinated by the generation that preceded me, the guys that lived through the Depression and fought the wars. Even though I wasn't in combat in it, but listen to me, it's movies.
Yeah.
But no, it opened my eyes, and I usually take a little something away from something, just looking at things through different people's eyes.
I really would love to see this character from 10 Cloverfield Lane in a bunker with some of your other characters from your movies.
I like to see him with Walter from Big Lebowski.
Yes.
I think Walter would put him away real quick.
What would Walter be doing down there? I would love to see, would he be bowling? What would he be?
He'd be cleaning his weapons, listening to bowling tapes, and occasionally beating the other guy up just to shut him up.
One thing I think
comparing beards.
Yes, I would love to see this. Obviously, you've made so many great films in your career. In this particular film, you have such a great balance of good, bad. We don't know what your character's intentions really are. And I love that. I love how you found that. So I'm wondering, as an actor, what is the key to not giving that away to the audience, what your true intentions are? I know it's a good director and a good writer, but...
I'd like to know that answer myself. I guess it's just concentrating on what's in front of you, what the particular scene is, keeping in mind what's going to happen later. But I don't like to give away too much. And that's a big acting challenge for me now. It's just acting wise, keeping my big mouth shut and let the audience in. Let them help me.
You've played so many characters in your career. Is there one in particular you miss? Like after the movie ended, it wrapped, you walked away, you miss being that person?
I'll tell you the truth, The Big Lebowski, and Barton Fink, even though, well, we don't know if I died or not. But I just love those worlds. I love the guys. The characters were fully realized. And I'm going to miss that old bunker in the warehouse in New Orleans, too.
Yeah. Now, my fiance Lauren absolutely loved doing Smash. And I feel like
awesome.
that character was so incredible, the emotional journey she went on. Could you pull any of that to this character whatsoever, just the emotional qualities that she has to go through while she's down in the bunker?
Absolutely. I think we wanted her to come into the movie coming with a lot of history, even though as an audience, you don't really know exactly what that history is. So I think I did want her to be a similar character to that in the sense that I wanted her to be complicated and real and a little bit messy and like a real girl that we can all relate to, So that was definitely, those type of roles are the kinds of things I wanted to bring to her.
I loved you in Scott Pilgrim, and I'm wondering, when you work with different directors like Edgar Wright, who's phenomenal, then you have Dan, who's an incredible innovator as well. Do you take things from people like Edgar Wright and use them here, or is it a totally different experience with Dan?
It was kind of a different thing. Each director, has their own style, and it's always great to kind of take those on as a learning experience and then take it on to the next thing and then have it on your belt loop, so to speak. But I think both Edgar and Quentin have very different styles, and Dan was more, the shots were very composed and very classic and kind of going for this almost Hitchcockian kind of vibe.
Yeah, it felt like that
But
at the beginning.
in terms of the performances, it was a little bit more free form. I felt like, it almost felt like doing an indie film or something in that sense, which was really fun.
Now, obviously, with this film, there's some incredible shots. I won't give anything away what happens, but when you guys are down in the bunker, how are they making things shake? Like, how are they making in the movie world? Like, are there people behind the wall?
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of practical stuff like that where you just have like the first AD standing near you, just shaking things or stomping around. It's all like movie magic.
Yeah. Now, you didn't know the title of this film officially until a couple days before the trailer was released. So obviously, going into it, did you have any idea it was connected to the Cloverfield universe?
I knew that it was something that was going to be in the spirit of Cloverfield. I didn't know that it would be connected in terms of the title, but I knew that JJ was trying to do something where he wants to make films like this that are in the same spirit of taking a really big idea and telling them in a smaller way and more personal and kind of reinventing the genre a little bit, which I think this does in a very similar way to what Cloverfield did.
And you had no idea that Cloverfield was the title until when?
About a few days before the trailer came out, like that week.
Really?
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Did you know there was any connection to the original film?
I knew that there were murmurs while we were filming about kind of a potential overlap, kind of tie-in, a thematic and tonal relation thing happening, but I didn't know how far it was going to actually be taken until it happened.
Now, obviously, you've been involved in theater a lot, and Spring Awakening obviously was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, for you as an actor, connecting to a character on a stage with a live audience and dealing with and feeding off of their reactions versus a movie where they have to be quiet behind the camera. Was it a struggle to do that? Is it different for you? Do you prefer the live audience?
They're definitely very different. Having a live audience to perform in front of is just something that can't be really replicated anywhere else. But I like shooting movies because I really like the vacuum of it, that you kind of go into this place and shut the door and you create this thing together, and it's away from everyone, and it's kind of more secretive and it's a little more private, and then you get to kind of share it with the world. That's a really cool process. And also I like the quiet of movie making. Obviously, doing theater is a louder and more projected affair, and it's a little more up. I like the kind of introversion that is just a little bit more inherent to making movies. That was something that came naturally to me. Every time I've done a play, I almost always get the note that I need to be louder and need to be bigger because people in the back row aren't going to be able to hear to something. And so when I got, into doing film and television, I actually found it really liberating to be able to play quiet and more intimate moments a little bit more naturalistically than you can do on stage.
Now, what I find fascinating is, so 16 Hurricanes now out now.
Yeah, that's right.
And I want to ask you about writing music versus becoming a character in a movie, because the emotional journey of a song, I guess, could be compared to the emotional journey of a character.
Definitely.
And could you maybe relate any of the music you've written to the character you play in this film? Like, what song you think would fit him?
Oh gosh, every time I do an acting project, I usually end up writing a few songs while I'm doing it, and
Oh, wow.
and I don't purposely sit down and say like I'm gonna write something that's been informed by this movie, but there are kind of always little things that sneak their way into it, whether I like it or not. I can't think of anything that's like directly inspired, but when we shot this movie, we were shooting it in New Orleans.
Did you write a song on your album that when filming this
Not
movie?
on my album because I had recorded it already by the
Okay.
time we shot the film, but I did play a concert in New Orleans on one of my off nights while we were shooting this movie, and our camera operator and a few of the crew guys, they went to a Saints game in New Orleans, had a few beers, and then they came and saw my concert in New Orleans, and anyway, I think it was cool. They were surprised, having been stuck in this bunker filming the movie with me, to go out and see me out in the world playing music. I think it was a trip for them.
Well, congratulations on everything you're doing, man. You're
Well,
awesome.
thank you
so
very
much for the
much.
interview, man. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. I'm a big fan of how you use Bear's score in the film. It's a leading character. Reminded me a little bit of Hitchcock in the beginning, obviously,
right.
when there's no dialogue. We just have her, like, with the music, kind
Yeah.
of like Psycho a little bit.
Exactly.
I'm
yeah.
wondering, like, the idea of using a score as a leading character and how the choice of that, and do you direct it like an arc of a character the same way?
We did talk a lot about it feeling throwbacky and Bernard Herrmann-esque, who was
Yep.
Hitchcock's composer, and it feels like Psycho. It's got this woman on the run in the beginning and hearing some of those notes. And we talked a lot about the score really evolving, because the movie really evolves throughout, and hearing what sounds like intense, brooding stuff in the beginning become more exciting, hopeful stuff towards the end. But yeah, Bear is a huge movie geek and film score geek, and I am a huge film score geek, and working with him was such a pleasure. And his music, I think, is so soul-stirring and also incredibly intense.
It's an incredible score.
Yeah,
It really, really
yeah,
is.
I'm so glad that you feel that way.